So sorry for the delay. I was just very caught up today because you would know a bunch of undergraduate deadlines on the 1st of November. So went overboard with some calls being packed all day. But yeah, because we promised the live, we are jumping on here. So yeah, I see questions are here already. I think a lot of people have been waiting on the live. So I'm going to go ahead and perhaps start answering some questions. Once again, so sorry for the delay, but rest assured, we'll be spending time for perhaps until 9 o'clock at least, post which I have another call scheduled, and we can jump into uh, other stuff post that. So I'm going to start questions from the bottom, um, or at least I'm going to write. I'm going to answer completed questions. All right. All right, there's a question in. I'm a final year electronics and telecommunication student wanting to do masters in data science in fall 2025. I have a GPA of 8.7 and 6 to 7 months of industry experience. I don't see a question there, so please, ask your question when you're giving your profile as well. Just to give you some preliminary advice, if you're applying for data science, it is imperative that you have research experience, at least a couple of high impact research papers that have been published or research internships, because data science programs, as opposed to data analytics, are far more research intensive. So, industry experience or pure corporate work experience or just technical projects won't do. You will need research experience for a data science specifically. All right. The next question is, are all applications applied before early action deadline given equal importance, or do AdComs take students on a first come, first served basis? Look, if you're asking this question from a master's perspective, then there is no concept of early action as such. Very few universities have priority deadlines, if that's what you are looking at in terms of MS programs. And for the priority deadlines, usually whether you apply one day before the deadline or several days before the deadline, there is no significant advantage or disadvantage overall. So as long as you meet the deadline, it's okay. But there are some universities which you will only realize, through experience, that even though they have a hard deadline, they do start giving out decisions before. So it is first come, first served, right? One classic example of this is Johns Hopkins for the MEM program. Even though deadline's March 15th, they don't really explicitly mention a rolling deadline, unlike Texas A&M, which is rolling. Applying significantly earlier gives you an advantage for sure. And by significantly earlier, I'd say by the end of November usually. So yeah, not all applications, if you apply early, give you an advantage. It's on a university to university basis and a policy basis overall. So I hope that answers your question. If I have an ongoing research paper, will it help mentioning them in my statement of purpose? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. You can mention them on your statement of purpose. There's no problem whatsoever in doing that. Can a university extend the offer date? I got an offer of admission in one university, and by December 1st, I have to secure a place, but I want to wait for the others. What should I do in this case? It depends on a case to case basis. I've had cases in the past where they've been kind enough to extend it by a couple of weeks. And there have been a lot more cases where there's strictly no extension. So it varies from university to university. It varies from a case to case basis. All you can do is write an email and ask. You can talk about some personal circumstances that are preventing you from making the commitment right away, and just request it. Most certainly don't say that you're waiting for other decisions, because that's the whole idea behind giving you a deposit date. But give them a personal reason, a justification which has nothing to do with the fact that you're waiting for other colleges, because it's a big amount that you're spending in order to secure your place, right? So ask them, request them. If they're nice enough, they'll allow it, but strictly from a protocol basis, no. All right, I have written my SOP by myself. When I check for AI and plagiarism online, it shows that 73% of the SOP is AI generated. Any suggestions on this? This is normal if you're using Quillbot and the likes. It's very, very varied. I wouldn't bother too much about that. Again, I've been fortunate enough to be in a position to speak with the admissions committees folks, directly about this personally, right? And they don't use any tools as such because they themselves have stated that the AI detection tools that are available right now are just not good enough, right? They're not reliable enough. So even people who've genuinely written stuff are getting caught out, and they acknowledge this as well. Straight from one of the AdCom members, mouths. Their words, not mine. They said, "I am the AI detection tool," right? The person. They've seen so many thousands of SOPs at this point in time and documents where, they can tell what is AI. And honestly, in my little humble experience as well, 7 years of having put people into the best master's programs across computer science, MEM, MIS, MBA, and the likes, even I can tell a AI generated SOP straight away, right? Because I'm reading it from, a genuine desire to see whether you're reflecting a real journey that is close to your heart in terms of your goals and your past experiences, and something that's fairly personal. And very, very clearly, we can figure out what AI is. Tools are not used by admissions committees. This I can tell you for sure. And especially things like Quillbot and the likes, they're just going to keep flagging AI, just so that you subscribe to their premium subscriptions, right? That's just how the way they work. And they're not accurate at all. I'll give you a fun story, and I've said this on the WhatsApp groups that, a few students asked. I don't know if you're on those WhatsApp groups. If you are, then please do join in. You'll find the links on our YouTube videos itself, where I put in the exact same essay on the same software, which was Quillbot, from two different systems. One gave a 35% or something, and the other gave like an 85%. AI. So the same thing, random detections, absolutely nonsensical. So don't fall for that. Don't worry about it. I just was more elaborate on this answer because I think it helps multiple people. Also, I think today there seems to be a lot of interest in terms of questions. I'm getting them flowing in. Even though I do intend to spend a little longer than the usual 30 minutes on this live, I'm not going to be able to answer all your questions. If not, please don't feel bad about it or don't curse us. I've seen people send hate messages on LinkedIn because I didn't answer their question. You'll have to see the live interface. Questions just keep flowing in, and it's very difficult to track and then give you a nuanced, informed answer, right? So if I'm not able to answer your question, please go ahead and schedule your free consultation call on www.gradvine.com, or using the link that my colleague will be putting in, right? But www.gradvine.com is the ideal way through which you can schedule a free consultation call with us, right? If I'm not able to answer your question, it's because there are just scores and scores flowing in at this point in time. It's very hard to keep track of this here. All right, a question. I emailed University of Washington MSIM about the STEM OPT, but they told me that we need to apply for it. Is that the case for every college? Yeah, you need to apply for the STEM OPT extension, but it's a procedural thing that the Office of Visa and Immigration Services, usually called OVIS, does for you. There's nothing special or different on that. You will get the STEM OPT extension without a problem, provided you have a job offer. Is the competition relatively low this year for MS and CS in the USA? Competition is relatively low overall this year because of, honestly, by this point, it's becoming very, very clear, right? Because couple months ago, 3 months ago, when these questions started, even I didn't want to give a definitive answer. But it is very, very clear that it is a doubt about going to the US, which is not very well researched or very well understood, right? And this is again perspective that I'm getting after interacting with adcoms and understanding the on-ground situation at the good universities overall. So competition is lower this year because people are afraid about the job market, 3 years later when they graduate, which is I mean, just when I say it, it just sounds very, very silly, and that's what has been seconded by a lot of the faculty and the career services and the well-wishers at these universities that plan careers for their students, about how you're just assuming that you're looking at a crystal ball and looking at the future, and you're ignoring the fact that economies are cyclical, and the job market in the US is always cyclical, right? So at this point in time, yes, competition is lower because people are going in with the myopic view of what is happening for the last 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then extrapolating that to 3 years later, which will have little or nothing to do with today's situation. So competition is lesser, GRE is optional, maybe getting into the top universities this year will be slightly easier. That's the scene of the entire industry right now. How is business analytics for a non-tech background student? So business analytics as a discipline and a degree is not is domain agnostic. So you can come from an engineering background, you can come from a BBA background, you can come from a BCom background, whatever it is, for a business analytics degree, right? Because business analytics has a multitude of applications across sectors. Nothing is independent of data at this point in time, right from something like marketing to core ML and AI applications, of course. So because of the wide range of applications, business analytics programs also don't have a very strong requirement or a preference for what undergrad degree you come from. What they will desire is one of two things, right? Either a very strong math background, so you should have had strong courses in calculus, data, statistics, probability, these sort of areas for sure, which again, honestly, the way Indian education systems are set up will not come through a traditional BBA or a BCom program. But if you do through other means, then absolutely yes. Or they're at least looking for a programming background. Now, programming, of course, a BBA and BCom will not have any of it in their undergraduate education. But if you maybe graduated and made it to an analyst role at something like a Deloitte or any other, consulting or a tech company, then you can show that programming background as a proof for potential success in a business analytics program. So if you have either of these, whether you're an engineer, non-engineer, BCom, BBA, doesn't matter. I've had folks from BBA make it to the best business analytics programs, in the past as well. So domain agnostic, but you need to have strong math or strong programming. All right, GRE 301, TOEFL 97, GPA 3.8. Again, every time I see 4-point scale GPAs, I'm getting scared at this point in time. And I'm again covering this because it's generally beneficial for the audience at large. There seems to be an obsession with 4-point GPA conversion and WES evaluations this year, where honestly it's not even needed. Again, AdCom's words, not mine. They understand Indian GPA scales. They know that an 8.5 is good and a 7.5 is average and a 6.5 is pretty poor, right? They don't need to get another 4-point conversion to figure it out. So when you tell me in your question that you have a 3.8, I don't know what method you use to convert it, because I've seen a lot of students do, the silliest conversion, where they're doing a direct conversion where a 7 out of 10 is a 2.8 out of 4 and an 8 out of 10 is a 3.2 out of 4, and they're self-eliminating universities assuming they're not eligible for certain numbers. It is a weighted conversion, it's never a direct conversion, and you'll have to have a pretty bad GPA to be below a 3 out of 4, right? So if your university is giving it at 3.8, or you use WES, or you use Colero, fine. If you're doing your own calculations, please just enter your 10-point GPA scale. That is far more helpful. But yeah, the question is, if you have a 301 on the GRE, should I retake it? Look, at this point in the year, I think as October winds out, and again, having spoken to a lot of admissions committees and seeing the way this year is going in terms of the language on websites, by and large, if you don't have a GRE score, or rather you have a GRE score below a 310, or if you have not given the GRE yet, forget about the GRE, just apply test optional and focus on the other aspects of your profile. For your specific case, if that 3.8 GPA is indeed true, that's a pretty good GPA and that should carry you through. If the rest of your profile is good, your GPA is strong, your work experience is good, or even if you're a fresher and your GPA is good and your technical projects are good, Ignore the GRE, just apply test optional. Now is not the time to try and meddle around with the GRE, give another attempt and mess around with it. If you're in the midst of preparation and then, okay, 5 more days, 1 more week, 10 more days, you're going to give an attempt and do okay and have a score in hand, that's fine. You can hurry your applications post that. But going for another attempt or starting from scratch is not the idea that you want to get into right now. All right, the questions are randomized at this point. So, forget about it. I think some people are doing spam also. I think it's a testament of growth to our YouTube channel when we have people doing time pass here. So, great success for us. All right. I have done my bachelor's in EC with a GPA of 8 and all right, I've lost the question. It's just a weird interface today. All right, bachelor's in EC with a GPA of 8 and I have a little knowledge in IT. I want to do a data science program. Is it possible to do a degree in under 15 lakhs? I picked this question specifically because I wanted to cover again the broader question of costs for the audience, right? So I am picking, questions intentionally so that it benefits the audience at large. I'm not going to very specific niches at this point in time because there's a lot of people listening and there's no way I'm going to be able to answer all the questions. But if you are hoping to finish a degree in the US in under 15 lakhs, that is an unrealistic expectation, right? Most degrees in the US at a bare minimum will cost you about 35 lakh in terms of tuition fee. That is simply because do a conversion of the dollar rate right now, right? The dollar rate has gone up significantly over the years. So any half decent university is not going to come at the cost that you're looking for. And honestly, without a scholarship, if you're going to a university that's going to cost that amount, then that is 15 lakhs sunk, right? It's not going to get you a job opportunity in an increasingly competitive market, right? Invest a little bit more on better universities or pick another country. In the US, you have to be prepared to spend a significant chunk of money, right? At least 35 to 40 lakhs at a bare minimum. Otherwise, you're not going to get, any decent universities, right? So I'm just saying that definitively, and I hope that, sort of helps. All right, another broad question from Deva, which is a very good question. Thank you for asking that. Does a TOEFL score of 90 to 99 affect the admissions chances, even though the cutoff is 90? Will they judge an applicant based on that? No. Right? Definitive answer. Please note it down, all of you. If with the English proficiency cutoffs, TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, you just meet the cutoff or just clear the cutoff, somebody who clears the cutoffs by 10 more points or somebody who clears the cutoffs by 0.5 or 1 or 1.5 bands has no advantage over you. English proficiency is not a basis of merit while they're making a decision. Once you tick the bare minimum box, it does not matter. They are looking at the rest of your profile to figure out whether you get in. Conversely, even if the rest of your profile is great and you're missing the English proficiency cutoff even by 1 or 2 points, you might get rejected. You will likely get rejected because it's a hard cutoff, right? It is not like the GRE where, scores are subjective. Somebody with a higher score might get rejected. Some person with a lower score might get rejected and there's no strict cutoff. TOEFL and IELTS and English proficiency scores are cutoffs. All right, trying to grab some questions. All right, IE Business School, UC Dublin, Emilon, France, Singapore, Bocconi in Italy, which are good for MIM programs. I'll give you a simple answer. I know you've listed a bunch of different countries. For an MIM, here are the only countries where it is viable, where you will likely get a job. Number one would be France. ESSEC, ESCP, of course, if you have a little bit of work experience, INSEAD and HEC, these are places which have been invariably getting jobs for candidates. The US is always strong because most MIM degrees are STEM designated at this point in time, so it's always a great option. Ireland is not bad, but it's honestly only if you go to Trinity or UC Dublin. All of the other universities are not great, and then Netherlands is decent at this point in time. Italy, Singapore, Canada, all these places, there are no jobs at this point in time, so don't even bother applying. All right, as a fresher, I have great projects in my profile. Does it cover for not doing an internship? It's not ideal, but it's fine. It's absolutely okay. I think if you have good technical projects, even if without an internship, you should be okay. If a person doesn't have a last name, how should they fill out applications? This is unique. I mean, it's one question I think I don't have an answer to at this point, not having a last name. Yeah, you're asking if you'd write to the university and ask. Please do write to the university and ask. Each one will have its own policy on that. That is a unique problem. All right, my background is from biotech, 9.4 GPA, but I'm applying for data science and have work experience of 3 months as a data analyst. I didn't write GRE. Will my background affect my chance of getting in for DS? Not necessarily. Again, for DS, mechanical engineers get in, civil engineers get in, biotech engineers absolutely get in as well. But the problem is, you've not mentioned anything about research papers, and I keep harping about this because based on experience, it is usually folks with good research experience that do get into data science programs by and large, right? So if you don't have research in your specific case, if you're interested in your field, you could consider business analytics, data analytics, or even a very powerful degree with great opportunities at this point in time, which is bioinformatics. So bioinformatics, biostatistics programs are something that you can potentially look at. If you have research, then data science. If not, look at data analytics. So think about it, right? I have a 7.28 GPA, yet to give the GMAT. I have 4 years of experience, planning to apply for an MBA. Any suggestions? I mean, I hope you don't get upset with this suggestion, my friend, but my first suggestion is to give the GMAT, right? Unlike MS programs, where a large number of top programs have genuinely waived off the GRE, and a lot of them, honestly, there's no disadvantage of not having a score. For an MBA, the GMAT or the GRE is extremely critical. In fact, it is impossible to do a shortlist also without a GMAT or a GRE score in hand. So 100% get that score. That's the only way in which we can, sort of figure out what kind of universities you can target. Because honestly, in the filtration itself, if your GMAT or a GRE score is not up to scratch, they will reject your application straight away. In fact, unlike a lot of MS programs also, MBAs, every single one gives a normal distribution curve or a very clear estimate of the average and the range of the GRE or the GMAT scores. When you're applying for an MBA, you come from a variety of different backgrounds, and your aptitude, especially your quantitative aptitude and your ability to reason, is very, very, very important, right? So if you have a good score, that's going to make a massive difference. Apart from that, you need to have coherent career goals. Your work experience hopefully is from either a very well-reputed company, or the impact of your work and your career trajectory has been strong. If you're targeting the top 10 programs, that's important. Even for the top 20, it needs to be at least decent. And your GMAT score is very, very important. The good news perhaps for you is that your GPAs for MBA programs don't matter as much. All right, I'm planning to apply for MS in HCI. Is applying by now November end too late? Can you suggest some universities? November end is not too late. HCI programs aren't like computer science or certain MEM programs where you have to apply early to beat the competition. HCI, it's okay if you apply by November end. If it's okay if you apply by December also, you should be largely fine. Look, I can talk about the best universities like Carnegie Mellon and University of Michigan and say these are good to apply, but I'm realizing slowly that such answers are futile because you have to figure out whether your profile is a fit for the same or no. But schedule your free consultation, get your profile evaluated, and take it from there in terms of the kinds of universities you can target through our shortlisting services. All right, next question. Hi, Srikar. Your team is doing great. I have a doubt. I'm a 2024 graduate, currently planning on fall 25, but I have a year of gap. I'm not working presently. Does this impact? Should I show or tell any reason for the gap year? 1 year gap is still okay. Usually in the US as a culture in general, gap years are not looked at unfavorably. A lot of people do take that. 1 year gap is okay as long as you can justify what you intend to do between now and the start of the program. If you're able to talk about that in a line or two in your statement of purpose, it should be fine. It's not a huge deal. It's not going to impact you greatly. All right, Charan asks, are you from Telangana? I'm from Hyderabad, my friend. I'm sitting opposite KBR Park, overlooking, the park at this point in time, road number 2, Banjara Hills. So if you want to drop by and visit us, please do. Best MEM colleges for freshers. Pretty much every MEM college, barring Northwestern, to an extent Stanford, to an extent Columbia, taken freshers. In fact, they taken more or an equal number of freshers as they do candidates with work experience. All right, hey, I've been considering Netherlands now for data science, and someday I was considering the USA. What is a better option, and should I give the GRE? All right, I think that's the question. Netherlands is a good destination for data science, anything tech related, because it's a fairly decent tech economy overall. So you should, most certainly consider Netherlands as an option. Don't give the GRE at this point in time. It's not a requirement, so you should be fine. All right, UI/UC chances for MSIM 9.3 GPA, 16 months as a data engineer, 306 on the GRE. Should I give the GRE or should I apply without a score? I would say go GRE optional because your score is a little, it's not bad, but I don't think it's going to enhance the application, and you have a strong enough GPA for you to have enough meat in the profile to apply without a GRE score. If you came in with like a 7.1 and say I'm going GRE optional also, then I would be worried. But with a good GPA, I think you can go test optional because I don't see the GRE of a 306 enhancing your application in any way. Secondarily, I don't know anything else about your profile, but assuming the quality of your work experience is good and considering your GPA, I think you're underselling yourself in terms of the kinds of universities you can apply to. UI/UC definitely a good choice, but I think you can make it to better places as well, potentially. UI/UC is good, but I wouldn't classify it as top tier. I think definitely, the likes of University of Washington and Indiana Kelly are much better. Also, by the way, all of you MIS applicants, I keep harping on applying early, which has sort of backfired on us because, our paying customers are coming and saying, I want to apply to every single thing by October 15th, which caused us a problem, right? When I say apply early, it is for your earliest application, right? All of the others can be prioritized and then applied depending on where it makes a difference and where it doesn't make a difference, right? So, for example, Duke MEM, whether you apply in November or whether you apply in December end, there's no difference. Johns Hopkins applying in November end versus applying in December end, there's a world of a difference, right? So that order and strategy is something that we help out with while we are doing your shortlist, and we'll advise you on that. Your account managers are constantly advising you on that. At Gradvine, so our paid customers are being pushed to apply there, right? Because you're saying MIS and we're talking about the top 5 MIS programs, Indiana Kelly, we had to push about 10 people to apply for the Kelly MIS by September 1st, saying push, do it. They were not keen, but we still said, absolutely do it, because A lot of people are not even aware that there's a September 1st deadline. Competition is going to be insanely low. And this is a golden opportunity to apply for a top 5 MIS programs. And guess what? Out of the 10, 7 good profiles I've gotten in. Right now, they're sitting on a top 5 MIS program, relaxing, saying, I will try Berkeley, I will try UT Austin, I will try Carnegie Mellon, right? So isn't that a great position to be in? That's why I say you have to be aware. I know a lot of you guys are hanging out on the WhatsApp group, asking questions, scratching around for information, which is fine. I get that. But understand that most of the people you're asking information for have limited or no experience, right? They're also trying to figure it out yourself, right? So, understand, speak to people, even if you don't want to sign up for the paid services with our experienced team and our mentors who are in the US at the top programs, at least try reaching out to people who are abroad who can give you accurate information. Because with master's applications, right, it is nuanced. Sometimes timing is everything. Most of the times, the quality of your document is everything. It's very, very dynamic in terms of the strategy, right? That's something that you have to figure out. And that's the investment you're making when you're taking up our services. I get a lot of people saying, okay, some other place is giving me a 20,000 rupee discount and I'm getting it done for 30,000 rupees. Why are you charging 55,000 rupees? But what are you paying for, right? You're paying for the ultimate edge in your applications and understanding of strategy and somebody who can ensure you get into the top tier programs. No point getting a discount and paying something who doesn't know about these things, right? And the application materials for all of you MEM applicants also, very, very critical, right? Like, one simple question I'm going to ask you, once you start filling the Cornell application eventually, for those of you who are applying to it, you will have a document you have to upload called the technical writing sample, right? The technical writing sample. So whichever consultant or consultancy is giving you the discount, ask them, what should I do with this? And if they give you an answer, well and good, go ahead. But, that's how nuanced these applications are, across the board. Applying early for certain places is very, very, very important. Certain others you can figure out and apply a little later. That was my Kelly story. Just people who are proactive and started applying, early, they're sitting on a top, I admit, just because nothing. They submitted a resume on time because we pushed them, right? That's all it takes sometimes. So that nuanced strategy is very, very critical. I'll move on. All right, it's Srikar. This man is absolutely right. I applied because of his post on the WhatsApp group and got into Kelly MSIS. Now chilling. Thanks. I'm glad that helped out, my friend. The WhatsApp groups, thankfully, are useful. I'm thinking of deleting a couple because I think we are giving too much information there for free, which is affecting our sales. I'm kidding. The WhatsApp groups will be active. They'll be active next year as well. They exist because we don't want you to fall for the nonsense information, that a lot of people are throwing around. So don't worry about it. Glad the WhatsApp groups helped. All right. Okay. How is supply chain management for a degree right now for a student with a BBA background? It's good, but supply chain, you will have to understand that even though work experience is not a prerequisite for you to get in, I strongly recommend you apply with 1 or 2 years of work experience at least because of the recruitment process, right? So anybody who's recruiting you, in a supply chain role, in the interview, the first question is going to be, what prior experience do you have in the field? And as a fresher getting out of a BBA with very limited experience, it's going to be very difficult for you to crack a job, right? So BBA to SCM is fine. It's absolutely great. Similar case, BBA to MS Finance, absolutely fine. But if you have prior work experience, it will help you in your eventual job search, even though for getting in, it's not a hard prerequisite. So work for some time is what I would recommend. All right, I'm a Fall 24 MSCS student at Northeastern. I got into CMU's Mobile and IoT Engineering Bi-Coastal program for Fall 25. Is it worth transferring? And if it means a year's delay, I don't think so. If you're at MSCS at Northeastern, that's a great program. Look, CMU is a great brand, but it's offering so many degrees at this point in time, which even we, with all our years of experience and putting hundreds of kids into CMU, constantly, even we don't know about. The one that you're referring to about the program, honest to God, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, right? And if you're at NEU MSCS, that's a pretty good program in itself. I wouldn't consider the transfer. Go through with it. CS in Boston with Northeastern will give you eventual opportunities that are great. Even if you're finding the job market a little challenging, again, I'm resonating the words that people from good programs, and NEU MSCS is a very good program, right? Have been saying is that the job search is just taking longer, but people are eventually securing jobs. So stay put, stay constant. I don't think the transfer to CMU and getting a year delay makes sense for you. College professor not writing LOR from tier 3 college, any help? I think this is a constant across the tiers, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, none of them write. You're expected to write it for them. If your question is they're not willing to sign off on it and upload it, then you're in a little bit of trouble. But if they're not writing it, I mean, it's common for the student to draft. All right, a question came and it skipped, but all right, I found it again. Hey, speaker, should I consider giving the Duolingo English test as it is cheaper, or should I go with the convention IELTS TOEFL, considering I'll be applying to the US? Look, this is where people make the classic mistake of giving tests and doing their shortlist next. Your shortlists are not really dependent on your tests. They're dependent on the rest of your profile. So if you have a list of 15 targeted universities and about 13 of them are accepting Duolingo, then just give the Duolingo and just skip the other two. But if 5 of them are not accepting the Duolingo, and out of the 5, 3 are schools where your profile is a perfect fit, it is suiting all your requirements in terms of curriculum, cost, return on investment, location, everything, but only 3, but 3 crucial schools are missing out, then give the IELTS or TOEFL. It's a simple answer, right? If universities are all accepting the Duolingo, all the ones that you like, then just give the Duolingo. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's apparently easier. So multiple advantages, right? So that's how I think about it. How is the University of New Haven for MEM? It's not good. Can you suggest a few good mix of colleges for data science? I cannot. I don't know anything about your profile. I don't know anything about your research experience. I don't have any idea about the kind of budget you're looking at and the kind of return on investment you're looking at. I don't know your locational preferences. I can come out here and say, UPenn, NYU, Columbia, doesn't make any difference. Shortlisting is complicated. Shortlisting is nuanced. Shortlisting is incredibly important. I'm seeing a lot of students, texting on WhatsApp saying, hey, are you applying there? I also want to apply, which is probably the worst way you can do shortlists, which is because you're going to be spending 50 or 60 lakhs on an education at this point in time. You have to know everything about the university in terms of the return on investment, the job opportunities and the likes, right? So I cannot give you random suggestions. Even taking random suggestions is not good for you. University shortlisting is something you should spend time on. CMU offers a 9-month MS in DS. Does that affect my job opportunities? Will there be time to do an internship? What are the advantages and disadvantages? I did an entire video on 1-year degrees versus 2-year degrees. You can check that out. But just to give you things in a nutshell, shorter courses are a little bit of a disadvantage usually, purely because you don't have the option of doing an internship between your first year and second year of education. And you can do an internship only after you finish 2 semesters in the US, right? That's how the visa norms work. So if you finish, 9 months of internship, 9 months of an education or 2 semesters, then the first thing you're looking for after you graduate is a full-time job, right? So there's no cushion of applying for an internship before, which is far easier to find overall, right? So also, if you do the internship in the summer, right, that might convert to a full-time job. If not, you at least have a longer period of time to look for your full-time job, right? With a 9-month course, the problem is first semester, which is 4.5 months, you'll only be spending time adjusting. There's no meaningful job search you can do, which means you literally have 1 semester or about 4 months to look for a full-time job, which is stressful, right? Now, from really top programs, if you have prior work experience, that shouldn't be a problem by and large. But because you're asking me broadly, would you prefer a 1-year course or a course that's longer than a year? I would prefer a course longer than a year. Also, one simple tip for all of you guys across the board when you're applying for a non-thesis program, right? When applying for a non-thesis program, 1.5 years is plenty to finish the master's degree and for you to find a job. There's no reason for you to extend it to 2 years. So keep that in mind. Does Gradvine help with MIM application? Gradvine does hundreds of applications across the board with incredible success across MIM, MBA, MEM, MSCS, data science, MIS, business analytics, right? We do undergraduate applications, the deadlines for which have been killing me at this point in time. So across the board, bioinformatics, biotechnology, LLM, and honestly, across these fields, our success rate is absolutely unmatched in terms of putting people into the top universities. All right, should I go to George Washington University or the University of Washington for computer science? And then after that, I see waving pink hand, waving pink hand, waving pink hand. Okay. University of Washington, what computer science program are you referring to? There is no computer science program for international students. So the question becomes moot. Is George Washington good? It's decent. Not a bad program at all. Is it necessarily a top tier tech school? Maybe not. Great liberal arts school, not really known for its tech pedigree. So maybe there are better options that you can look for. Again, not a bad school at all. What can be the cost of an MBA for the top 10 or 20 programs? Are scholarships available? What is the ROI? Cost of attending just the tuition and all living costs included will cost you about 1.3 to 1.5 crores. Very, very, very expensive. Scholarships are available. They're rare. Last year, Gradvine students had a $50,000 scholarship from the University of Chicago Booth. A $40,000 scholarship from UCLA Anderson, Carnegie Mellon, Tepper, respectively. 40,000 from Cornell Johnson. A full waiver from Indiana Kelley MBA, and I'm struggling to remember about a $50,000 scholarship again from the University of Michigan Ross. But these are rare, right? If you're applying for an MBA, be prepared to shell out the money. Kelley Business School for MIS, is it a top 5 MIS program in the USA? What is your review about this program? Absolutely, definitively a top 5. I might get some hate for saying this, but I've had some really smart guys who've gotten into both Carnegie Mellon and Kelley, realizing that let's not be brand obsessed. Kelley is going to cost me significantly lower for very similar starting salaries. Let me just go there, right? Kelley is absolutely excellent. Have you come across a student who relied solely upon education loan for tuition and managed cash for 3 or 4 lakhs for pre-departure expenses? Any success stories like this? I have, my friend, but again, it becomes very, very taxing. You can get the loan sanction, but honestly, if you go to good universities, you should be able to get a TARA or an on-campus job, which will allow you to cover for your living expenses. So get the dispersal, but the amount you get dispersed for each semester, maybe reduce it. I would not recommend, completely taking a loan on everything, including living expenses throughout, and keep drawing from that because the interest rates are going to go up. Right. Please throw some light on Tufts and Rice compared to NEU, UIUC, NCSU for MEM. See, Tufts, I don't have hard data about the first graduating class from the full-time program, but again, we get the unique opportunity of interacting with admissions committees, career services, the people who are in these programs, who are talking to us because they come back on board as mentors and they're saying great things about the program. The way things are looking, with the fact that it offers a co-op, the fact that it's a very selective and small class, I dare say it's probably a better option than the ones that you mentioned. But you're taking a chance in a class of 2025. So yeah, I don't think it will be truly safe for anyone at this point. Okay, this person has been sending these questions. I've honestly been avoiding this question because I don't have an answer, but I'll be honest about it. I do have 2 years of work experience as an assistant coach, and I applied for nutrition and exercise science, and my GPA is 6.9. Does it show an impact on the visa interview? Your GPA is not the issue. When you're applying for such courses, the problem is visa officers will wonder how you're going to be able to secure a job, and will wonder again if you're going to use illegal means to settle in the US, right? I'm not saying there'll be a visa rejection because visas honestly are very dependent on the day and the officer, but basis of the degree and basis of the plan, it doesn't seem very, very convincing because the job opportunities for the niche course that you're looking at are fairly limited at this point. How about MS in computer engineering at Virginia Tech? Could you share your thoughts on the program, job prospects after graduation, and industry connections? Virginia Tech, for anything electronics related, anything mechanical related, anything manufacturing related, anything computer science related is very, very good. Because, overall, in the area and the tri-state area that you're looking at, the job opportunities in these fields are very, very solid. And Virginia Tech is a reasonably priced university with an excellent reputation in the field of uh, uh, you know, um, um, in the field of, again, electronics, anything industrial engineering related, anything computer science related, absolutely outstanding. So it's a very, very good program, but it is of course selective. All right. Questions are popping in. I request you guys. I know that, sorry, the interface is a little messed up, and that's why I've been mixing up the questions. But I request, don't keep spamming questions repeatedly. It just becomes difficult because I'm reading a question. There's three of the same questions coming up where it comes up again, which makes it very, very difficult. Arya says, Srikar, University of Washington offers Masters of Computer Science. What are you talking about? I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Please send me a link. I'll also learn about the program. That will be very helpful for me too. I'm a CS graduate, Duolingo 130, two research papers, one internship at Samsung. I want to do MEM, but I don't have work experience. As a fresher, will I be able to secure a job in the present situation? MEM programs are designed for engineers who are with no work experience or very limited work experience to break into entry-level tech management roles. So 100% irrespective of the market, and again, the present situation of the market has little or nothing to do with what is going to happen 3 years later. If you attended the webinars at Purdue, Johns Hopkins stuff, that's the same thing they've said. That's the same thing I've been saying for a lot longer. So stop looking at that overall. Economies are cyclical. They keep going up, they keep going down. I'm not going to paint a very green or lush picture of the future, but every time you go abroad, understand that you're taking a risk, right? You cannot have guarantees that things will land up in your favor. It will be challenging, but the rewards are worth it. That's the reason why people still keep going, right? To answer your question as a fresher, absolutely fine as an MEM grad. People have been doing very well in terms of job opportunities. All right. All righty. I think we're coming to the end of this, and I'm seeing only repetitive questions. So, I think we'll wrap up the live right now. I think I've managed to answer most of your questions. I'll go quickly and search for the University of Washington MS and CS program, and hopefully I'll find it. I'd be very happy if it exists. But for the rest of you whose questions have not been able to answer, I think most of them I've answered pretty much. You can get your personalized consulting, schedule your free consultation on www.gradvine.com or by using the link that my colleague has been pasting. You can get your profile evaluated, get an estimate of the range of universities that you can apply to, and also understand why our process differs and why we have a disproportionately high success rate in terms of 98% of our students making it to a top 50 university for their program, right? So absolutely schedule that free consultation call, and we'd be happy to answer all your questions. And of course, get started with the process properly with us, or whether you're getting reliable advice from somewhere, not just because somebody is saying they'll make the process easier for you, or somebody is saying that we'll help you with SOP for free or with a discounted price, because they haven't a clue overall, right? So stay in touch with us through our WhatsApp groups. Hopefully, I'll be back for a YouTube live sometime next week if time permits. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for turning up. We had a wonderful turnout today, and I will catch you